Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Sunil here. Can you hear me? Please confirm in the chat. Thank you. Thank you for your confirmations. Let's stop the chat. Okay. Quick information. In the last class, we have discussed about identity and access management. Agree? In the identity and access management service, we have learned how to create users. We have learned how to create groups. How can we attach policies? You know what do you know policies? Policies are nothing but permissions. We'll attach policies to the users. We'll attach policies to the group. We also have experienced about command line interface. How can we connect to AWS account using the command line interface? And we are in a position to search for the right commands and create the infrastructure using command line interface. The pending concept in identity and access management is about roles. So we should also know about the concept of roles, identity and IAM roles. But I don't want to start the roles concept today. I want to keep this pending roles, identity and access management service. The concept of roles, I want to keep it pending, and I'll be discussing later. Okay. So there's a specific reason behind this. So don't worry. We will discuss about the concept of roles later. So let's move on to next service called as VPC. Today we are moving on to next service called as VPC, stands for Virtual Private Code. Okay. So what's our agenda for today's session? Our agenda for today's session is understanding the importance of VPC. And we should also be comfortable understanding the concept of subnet. We'll also see practically how to create a VPC, how to create a subnet. Okay. And if time permits, we'll have a discussion about public subnet and private subnet. What is the difference and why should we go for public subnet and what is private subnet? So all these terms we should be familiar by end of the session. So this is our agenda for today's session. So as usual, before AWS CLI, you are right, Ansari. AWS CLI on Linux and the roles are both goes together, the same example. That we'll keep it in our next session. So before getting into the very important concept called VPC, as usual, let's have an interaction with some of the participants, starting with Bhargava Kumar.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bhargava. How are you doing?
Fine, sir. How are you?
Doing well. Tell me.
Firstly, greetings to these sessions.
Greetings to all for making our training possible.
Thank you, sir. Sir, my question regards to IAM, sir.
Identity and access management. Yes, your question, please.
Sir, can we modify the attaching policies, sir?
Yes, anytime. Let's say you have attached a policy to a user, you can add a new policy or you can remove the policy. Okay. There's an option where attach policy, you can also remove the policy. Bhargav. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
One more is access control list, sir.
Mm-hmm.
After we adding the grantee, how can we access the objects, sir?
How are you adding the grantee? By using the account ID or canonical ID? Agree?
Sir.
So once you provide the account ID, the other account can log into his AWS account. When he goes to S3, he will see the services. Okay.
Okay. Automatically,
that particular objects will be, a bucket will be available in the other account. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Bhargav.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Please drop your hands. Fine. Once you're done with the question. Okay. Nikuta Bong Achaleke.
Good morning, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing? You're from which location?
Oh, I'm from the United States. It's evening over here, but I guess it's morning down there.
It's morning here, and that's the reason it's evening there.
All right, sir. Good morning. Well, I'm Peter Bonachaleke. I'm just new into this session. A friend referred me here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a novice in IT. I'm fully science student. microbiologist.
You're a
And,
microbiologist. Now you're getting into IT industry.
yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a very interesting session since I started. It's been very interesting, and I thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
My major thing was I'm trying to see how I can get your recordings. A friend told me I can pay for them, and I don't know how to get to you, so I can pay for the recordings and for this past session.
Are you in the WhatsApp group of this training?
I'm in a WhatsApp group, but I'm not allowed to text in there.
You're not allowed to text, but you can receive my messages. I already have forwarded you the PayPal link in the WhatsApp group. Did you check that?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, I'll do one thing. After this session, I will also send you one more time the PayPal link so that you can proceed with that payment. Once you're done with the payment, also send the screenshot to the mentioned email address in the WhatsApp group message so that our team will respond to you and share the recordings to you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Anything more?
Oh, no, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Shivaji Tiwari.
Hi.
Good morning, Shivaji.
Yeah, good morning. I wanted to know, you told about we can log in IDM using OTP.
We can log in?
With using OTP.
Yep.
So how we configure
For additional security purpose, not only just email address and login.
I am using AWS in my local environment, in my office environment. So what we do when we log in, it connects to Duo.
It connects to
Duo, and we have to send a push. Duo is the app that comes in our phone.
Okay.
So we have to, after login, we have to send a push. That push will come, and we have to accept yes. Then
all this is called identity federation concept. It's like Google Authenticator. Okay, where we can have one more layer of security, Shivaji.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how we can add this?
You can do that. So if time permits, I'll showcase that. Okay. So as of now, because that comes under professional level training. Okay. So if time permits, I'll show you how can we increase one more layer of security for such kind of notifications to mobile phone. Okay. Okay, Shivaji.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Manipal Reddy.
Yeah, good morning, Sunil.
Good morning.
My question is regarding to EC2 instances.
Okay.
As of we know, we can create 10 or more instances at a time, no?
Not 10. You can create 100 instances at a time also.
Yeah, 10 or more.
Okay.
My question is how we can connect particular mission.
You have to select particular mission and click on connect, and then you get the SSH command. Using that, you can connect to any mission whichever required. Okay.
They provide like if in case we create 10 instances, they provide 10 SSH links, no?
Yes, obviously every instance will have its own SSH commands, different commands. Okay. So you have to connect with those terminals and process it. That's it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It's a final interaction, and then we got into VPC concept. Yes, Rahmat.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rahmat. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question. Actually, I'm an IT person. I'm working already. IT. Yeah, I'm working in IT.
Okay.
I have 3 years experience, but I experience in the Active Directory and group policies only.
3 years of experience you're having.
Yeah. But in AWS, I have no any experience. Yes, I'm learning only. I'm a fresher.
Okay.
So how I will get the job?
If you're planning to shift your technology, right?
Yeah, correct.
You're planning to shift your current Active Directory and this technology to cloud, isn't it? Agree?
Yeah, correct.
So I strongly recommend you to learn DevOps also. I have done these recommendations before also. So up to you, I strongly recommend along with the DevOps, along with the AWS course, what you're learning now, I strongly recommend to learn DevOps also. The combination of DevOps and AWS skill sets is doing good in the market. So that's my recommendation. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
If you don't want to get into DevOps, if you want to upgrade yourself in AWS, then I recommend you to go for professional level training. What I'm training is
Okay.
associate level training. After associate level training, you have to take for professional level training. AWS certified
Okay.
solutions architect. Currently what we are providing is AWS certified solutions architect associate level. Current my training which I'm providing. After that, you have to leverage your skills by going for professional level training. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So let's move on to VPC, one of the most important services. The most, in fact, to my knowledge, the most important service in complete AWS in our course is VPC. When you attend an interview, definitely majority of the questions will be from VPC service. If you go to an interview, majority, if the interviewer asking you 10 questions, 5 questions will be on VPC. So such an important service is VPC. What is VPC? Why VPC is important? How does it helps the clients? All this let's understand now. Let's get started with VPC. Stands for Virtual Private Cloud. So let's have a theoretical understanding what VPC says. Let's try to understand this theory, and then let's have, in our own way, we will simplify the concepts. Stands for Virtual Private Cloud. VPC is a virtual data center in the cloud. Try to understand this. If you're not clear, I make it clear. Don't worry. Try to understand the concept by looking at the theory. VPC lets you to provision logically isolated section of AWS, wherein which you can launch AWS resources in the virtual network. If you're not able to understand, don't worry. I'll make it simplified. VPC consists of components like internet gateways, route table, NACL, security groups. One subnet equal to one availability zone. Don't worry about the technical jargons. We'll be discussing about the stateful and stateless in nature. Okay, so this is all more about theory. So VPC is a virtual data center in the cloud. What does that mean? Let's try to understand. Amazon VPC enables you to provision an logical isolated section in AWS cloud. Okay, so let's try to understand this concept. Rohini, can we have a talk?
Sure, sir.
Let's log into AWS cloud. You know about VPC?
Not much idea on that.
Okay, so what do you know about VPC?
I don't have much idea on that, sir.
Okay, so you are a beginner.
Yes, sir.
Let's try to understand this concept.
Yeah.
By the way, how is your AWS learning?
It's really going good, and parallelly I'm working on AWS, so I'm getting more exposure to the learning. Yeah.
So is our training helping you in your work?
Very much, sir. Very much. Actually, I was a very much beginner when I started working on this, and parallelly I'm learning and attending the classes. It is really helping me.
Okay.
And thank you so much for that.
So this training is making you comfortable in your work environment.
Exactly, sir. Yeah. I
Okay.
can understand now all the concepts.
Okay, this VPC is much more important. Okay, so please stay focused.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so Rohini, we know how to create EC2 machines. Okay,
Correct.
Whenever we are creating an EC2 machine, we are selecting a region.
Mhm.
We are selecting region. I'm selecting Mumbai and creating the instances in the Mumbai region. Similarly, I can also create instances in Singapore region. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Whichever the region I want, I can select the region and create my EC2 machines inside the region. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
This is Mumbai data center.
Okay.
Mumbai
Data center.
data center. In other words, region. Okay. So region is nothing but data center again. Okay. It's nothing but a data center. So what we are creating, what we are doing, Rohini, we are directly creating EC2 machines in the Mumbai region. We are selecting the Mumbai region, and whatever you want, you are creating the EC2 machines inside the
Correct.
Mumbai region. Fine. When a client wants to have some infrastructure in Mumbai data center, assuming a client like Netflix or some other client, they want to have some EC2 machines in Mumbai data center.
Yeah.
What we have to do as an AWS engineer, first we need to create a partition in Mumbai region. Create a partition inside the Mumbai region.
Okay.
This partition which you created inside the region is called as VPC.
Okay.
When client says that I want 100 EC2 machines, when your client says that I want to create 100 EC2 machines in Mumbai region, don't directly dump all the 100 machines in Mumbai. No. First step, what you have to do is to create a partition. And then whatever the infrastructure, what the client wants, client may need 100 machines, client may need 1,000 machines, whatever the client requirement is, you have to create the infrastructure inside that partition. First step, what you have to do is we have to create a partition, and then we will be starting creating the EC2 machines inside the partition. This partition which we create inside a region, this partition which we create inside a region is called as what? VPC.
So we can create a number of VPCs in a particular.
You can create it. Generally, typically, client will have one VPC. Every client will have one VPC. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say client, like let's say for example, let's say client called Book My Show. Book My Show is a client. They want to have their machines on AWS cloud. Book My Show is obviously their target customers are from India. So obviously they create their infrastructure in India region. Agree? Let's say in Mumbai region, isn't it? Because their business isn't specific to India. Am I right, Rohini?
Yes.
So when they say that, as let's say we are supporting the client called Book My Show, when they say that we want to have our infrastructure in Mumbai region. So first step, what we have to do, we have to create a partition.
Correct.
First step, what we have to do. So what AWS says that first step we have to do is to create a partition. Once the partition is created, then create the EC2 machines inside the partition of that particular client. So every client will have their own partition. And then we build the infrastructure on that particular partition. This particular logic isolated section, these are all theoretical technical jargons. Okay, so we should not be worried about this kind of technical jargons first. Logically isolated, these are all technical jargons. Okay, simplified concept is creating a partition in a region for a particular client is called as a VPC. Clear?
Okay.
Am I clear in explaining you the concept of VPC?
Yes, sir. So there will be no connection between the, for example, customer 1 is having the one partition and the customer 2 is having the.
1 minute. So let's think from customer 1 point of view. Okay.
Okay.
That is step 1. So you're thinking you want to link to multiple VPCs. Okay. That's called VPC peering concept. Okay. That's different. Okay. First, let's try to understand what is VPC specific to one particular customer. Okay. Then we'll deal with how can we deal with multiple VPCs. To start with, let's make ourselves comfortable with specific VPC specific to one particular client. So when a client wants to say so in the interview, they'll ask you, let's say client wants to migrate their own on-premises data center to cloud. Now, my dear friend, they'll ask you in the interview, what do you do as a first step, as a first activity? The first activity when a client wants to jump into AWS is the first activity. What we do is we don't go to EC2, we don't go to S3, we don't go to IAM. The first step, what we do is we create a partition. And that partition is called as a VPC. The first activity AWS team that will do when client wants their machines or infrastructure on AWS is creating a VPC. Am I clear, Rohini, the importance of VPC?
Yeah.
Any questions understanding the concept of VPC, specific to VPC, not related to other service? Any questions related to VPC? Not related to ECT, not related to auto scaling, not related to S3 or IAM. My point is, let's have this context. Our context is VPC. I want questions related to VPC. Any questions? Your question may help in others clearing the doubts. So questions to VPC are welcome. Yes, Vikas Kumar.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Vikas, your question, please.
It's a very long time that's my turn is there.
Yeah. Happy to hear you. Yes.
I've started, I've started from the beginning of this session. Right now, my question is that how many VPC we can create in a particular data center?
No
like
limitation.
Mumbai region? No limitation.
No limitation. Clear. Okay.
Okay.
Second question.
So please see my hand raised. I have, raised many times, but today's you have seen my.
Vikas, because you know how many hands are raised now, or close to 100 hands are
I
raised.
can
Okay.
understand. I can understand.
So definitely the first priority is our day-wise agenda. Otherwise, we'll miss the quality in the training. Because 1 minute, Vikas. Highest priority is to complete the day-wise agenda. Otherwise, our quality will be disturbed. Okay. The second priority is interacting with the participants to make that more interactive, to make sure that the knowledge will be more exposed. And that too, we have a limitation. So considering all this, we cannot have interaction with all the participants. So I'm randomly picking up some of the participants. That's the only reason behind that. Okay.
Okay. Fine.
Any question more?
Yeah. Actually, I forget.
Okay.
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 No, it's
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dinesh Amara.
Hello.
Yes, Dinesh. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sunil. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dinesh. Yes.
Yeah. So, Sunil, my question is,
Your question, please. We lost your voice, Dinesh. Check your audio settings. Are you back,
so
Dinesh?
able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So my first question is, so the VPC is mandatory for any customer
Client,
to create.
you are right. AWS strongly recommends to create a VPC. When a client says that, Dinesh, when a client says that I want to create some n number of machines on AWS, Dinesh, creating VPC is mandatory because when you create a VPC, it increases security for the client. How does it increase security for the client's infrastructure? We'll be seeing it in some coming classes.
Okay.
Anything more, Dinesh?
So Sunil, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. And one more question. So this VPC can be local to the on-prem. I mean, so we have an on-prem environment, and so we have a VPC environment. So
you mean to say you have on-premises infrastructure, your client is having some infrastructure on their data center. Some part of the infrastructure is also there in cloud, AWS, Mumbai region, assuming.
Yes.
You want to link the infrastructure in AWS to the infrastructure which is there in on-premises. Am I right?
Yeah.
In technically speaking, on-premises infrastructure specific to VPC equivalent is VPN. Am I right, Dinesh?
Yes.
It's virtual private network. Yes, linking is possible. So this concept called VPC peering. So in that case, we can link on-premises, but it's not recommended.
Okay. That's all.
Okay. You know VPC, Dinesh?
No, I don't know the VPC concept.
But you know the on-premises VPN concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my current, we are doing a migration to AWS Aurora.
Okay. Specific to relational database service.
Exactly. So I'm a database administrator. So they are asking to migrate the data from on-prem to cloud.
Okay.
So we are doing that.
Okay.
So this process, we came to know that there is a local subnets will be enabled.
Linking can be possible. Yeah.
Okay.
So Dinesh, you already know AWS, or is it learning for the first time?
Yeah, I learned like 3 years ago, but since I was busy in my job,
So
again have
it's a quick revision for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Sir.
Final call. Rohit Dubshani. Dubahashi.
Hi.
Hi, Rohit.
Hi, Anil. How are you doing?
Doing
Hope
well,
you're
Rohit. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, thank you.
So, is it related to VPC only?
Yep.
So, I mean, so for all the services that we are going to create, like EC2 or any volume, so those all will be part of the VPC. I mean, when the client has a requirement to get their infrastructure in AWS,
Yes.
so we need to create
inside the VPC.
Inside the VPC.
You will see soon. Once we start using the VPC, you'll eventually understand. Okay.
Okay.
Clear, Rohit? Clear about the concept of VPC? Very simple. People think complex. It's not at all complex, Rohit. Isn't it? AWS is simple, right?
Yeah.
Huh? Do you agree with it?
Yes, exactly.
So VPC is
day one. So all the sessions that you took, it's excellent.
Okay.
And those are the theoretically very clear.
Okay.
Right now I'm doing the hands-on as well. Things.
It is simple, right, Rohit?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
First, we should tune our brain that it is simple. It becomes simple. Okay. Okay, Rohit. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So done. We are done understanding the concept of VPC. So VPC is a partition, fine, in Mumbai or whatever. In Mumbai, it could be on Singapore, it could be on Sydney, whatever it is. A partition which we do in the region is called as a VPC. When a client says that, okay, when a client says that, my dear AWS team, I have 100 machines. I want to create 100 machines in specific region. So can you please do that? So don't directly create EC2 machines directly inside the region. No. Step one, what you have to do is to create a partition. So this partition, what we create inside the region is called as VPC, as simple as that. Okay. So let's do practically. Let's create a partition. So once we have theory, now let's get into practicals. I want to create a VPC. Okay, fine. When you're creating a VPC, creating VPC is a 1-minute task. Creating a partition is pretty simple. First, let's create the VPC and then we will understand the values inside that VPC. Okay. So I want to go ahead and creating VPC. When you are creating a VPC, you need to provide. When you're creating a VPC, my dear friends, you need to provide IP address followed with a number here. I can see here. You can see here. This is an IP address followed with a number. This number is a 16, which I'm using in my example. So the number which I'm using, the IP address is 10.0.0.0/16 is what I'm using for creating this VPC. Okay. This value 16 is called. I hope you most of you know it. It is subnet mask. The value 16 is called as subnet mask. So when you're creating a VPC, you have to provide IP address. Don't worry about this IP address. Sir, Sunil, why are you writing 10.0.0.0? Can I use any other number? It's up to you. You can use any other number. Instead of 10, you can write 20.0.0.0. It's not compulsory that it should be 3 zeros. You can write 20.50.0.0. It's up to you. So don't worry about the IP address series. Okay, we'll have more understanding about the IP address series. But you have to provide IP address followed with the value /16. 16 is called a subnet mask. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a VPC. I want to create a partition in Mumbai region. So I already have logged into AWS account under services. Network and content delivery, we have a service called VPC. Go to your VPCs. Already we have a VPC. Can you see here under this is the VPC dashboard, my dear friends. Okay, I repeat one more time. This is the VPC dashboard. Right, this is the VPC dashboard. Okay, so go to your VPCs. So by default, there's a VPC. This is the default VPC. Don't disturb the default VPC. This is the default VPC. Can you see a number of VPCs available here? One right now you're pointing in Mumbai region. You can see there is already one VPC. This is a default VPC used for internal purpose for AWS. Okay, there's a default VPC. Please don't disturb the default VPC. What's our plan? Our plan is to create our own VPC. Let's go ahead and create a VPC. What's the name of the VPC? Name can be anything. I'm writing it as my VPC. VPC name can be anything. I'm creating a VPC with the name my VPC. What's the name of the VPC? My VPC. That's it. IP address follow the subnet mask. So what's our plan? 10.0.0.0/16, right? That's it. When you're creating a VPC, provide the VPC name, provide the IP address followed with the subnet mask value. The subnet mask value I'm using as 16. That's it. Go ahead and create VPC. So that's it. Only two values. You have successfully created a partition. So creating partition is pretty simple. I'm done with creating a VPC. When you go to your VPCs, now you can see this is a default VPC. The first one is a default VPC. Please don't disturb the default VPC that's used by AWS Cloud by its internal purpose. So we are done with creating your own VPC. The name of the VPC is my VPC. And the IP address followed with the subnet mask is 10.0.0.0/16. Okay. Now, the point you have to understand is what is this 10.0.0.0/16? Before that, I want to explain about the number called 16. 16 is called a subnet mask. 16 is called a subnet mask. Okay, so let's clear the screen. Those who are in networking, they can easily understand this. So I have created a VPC. The name of the VPC is my VPC. The name of the VPC is my VPC, and the IP address followed the subnet mask is 10.0.0.0/16. So this is what I have created. Let's try to understand the volume called 16. 16 is called a subnet mask. The term 16 is called a subnet mask. The subnet mask will determine the size of the VPC. The subnet mask 16 will determine the size of the VPC. The maximum subnet mask value is 32. What's the maximum number of subnet mask allowed? The maximum number of subnet mask allowed is 32. So what is the subnet mask value you are using in your example? 16. Let's look at the calculation. The maximum number is 32. The subnet mask value what you are using when you're creating VPC is 16. So you have to subtract the subnet mask from 16. So 32 minus 16 is how much? 16. So the result is 16. That means the size of the VPC is 2 to the power of 16. So what's the value of 2 power 16? Let's check it. To the power of 16 is 65,536. That is 65,000. That means my VPC can have 65,536 machines, EC2 machines. That is the size of the VPC. When you're creating a partition, you have to determine the size of the VPC. You have to determine the size of the partition. How much size you want. So this example, I have created a partition. The size of the partition is 65,500. I hope I am very clear in explaining you the calculation behind size of the partition. I'll give one more example. Let's say if I'm using 10.0.0.0 slash, let's say I'm using 20. Okay. Let's say this is the VPC followed the subnet mask value. So Rohini, according to this understanding, so the value what I'm using is 20. The subnet mask value is 20. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go with the calculation. The maximum subnet mask value is 32. Isn't it?
20.
And 20, the value is difference is 12. So 2 to the power of 12 is 4096. So in case if you decide this one as your VPC subnet mask, the number of EC2 machines can be 4096. So clear? So this is how you have to determine the size of the VPC. Clear, Rohini? Okay.
Yes, sir. One question I have regarding this 10.ipvq. We should start with 10.0.0.0.
It's not compulsory. Okay. It's not compulsory that you have to use 10.0.0.0. So I'll have more understanding about this. Rohini, one more calculations. If I write 10.0.0.0 slash, let's say I'm writing as 32. Okay. So let's go with the calculation, Rohini. The maximum number is 32. The number I have used in my example is 32. 32 minus 32 is what? 0. 2 to the power of 0 is 1. That means you can have only one EC2 machine inside the VPC. Clear? Okay. So the higher the number, the lower the size of the VPC. Are you understanding? Okay. The higher the number, the lower the size of the VPC. Clear? Clear yes. About this?
Yes,
so
sir.
This is how whenever you are creating the partition, Rohini, what we have to do, we have to analyze on-premises infrastructure. So when client says that, my dear AWS team, I want to go to I want to jump into AWS cloud, then as an AWS team, we need to check with them, check with their team. So how many machines you are having on their premises, and then we get them estimate, and then according to that, we can create our own VPC. Size can be modified at any point of time. That's not a problem. But this is how we should be very clear in determining the size. Okay, better to have a bigger size because you are not built for the size. It will be built only when you create instances inside the VPC. Clear, Rohini?
Yes, sir.
Am I clear in explaining you what is VPC? Not only VPC, now you know how to determine the size of the VPC. Okay?
Correct, sir.
Okay. So in continuation, Rohini, so let's say this is the VPC I have used 10.0.0.0/16. That means the size of the VPC is 65,536 EC2 machines, isn't it? Okay. So if I create EC2 machine inside the VPC, let's say if I create a EC2 machine inside the VPC, this IP addresses this EC2 machine will also have what IP address? Definitely that series will start with 10. Okay. 0.0. Could be 1 because the first machine. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
It need not be 1, but generally it takes this particular series only. It starts with 10.0. Okay. Okay. So these are what IP addresses? Private IP addresses. Okay.
Correct.
Every EC2 machine we have observed already, Rohini, that every EC2 machine will have 2 IP addresses, public IP as well as private IP addresses. This 10. series is nothing but the private IP addresses. Public IP addresses, it's not in our control. Okay.
Okay.
That's provided by internet service providers. So we don't need to worry about this. I'm talking about IP addresses. These are nothing but private IP addresses. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So definitely second number will be, so in case if I create one more EC2 machine, it will be 10.2. Agree? If I create 256 machines, then it could be 10.0.0.255. Okay.
Correct.
It will start with 0 to 255. If in case if I create 257th machine, it will be 10.0.1.0. Are you understanding?
Okay.
Number cannot be more than 255 in one octane. In one digit, it cannot be more than 255. So it will be 1.0 series. Okay. Again, 1.1, 1.2, 1.2, like this, it may take the series address. So finally, all the IP addresses will take in this particular series. Clear, Rohini?
Yes, sir.
Clear about the IP addresses and defining the calculation behind the size of the VPC.
One question, sir. Why we need to only till we need to have this 255? Can't we have?
Technically, this IP addresses range can be 0 to 255 in one IP address series, you know, right? It will be 4 digits and separated with dot. Okay. Technically, as per networking, that's called octane, I think. So it cannot have more than 255. Okay. That's a networking concept. Okay, Rohini?
Yes, sir. In case of like we will be able to create in the 16 subnet mask, we will be able to create a
5,536 machines are allowed in this particular VPC.
So our subnet starts, I mean, like it will be our IP starts from 1 to
No, it
255.
starts with 10. 10 dot
Uh-huh.
0 dot 0 dot
1.
It can be 1 or 2, but generally it will take that series. Okay.
Okay. So it will be like keep on 255. After that, it will increase in
Take
this.
1.0 series. It will take 1.0 series and 1.1, 1.2, isn't it? So that's what
Yes, sir.
happens.
Got
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions in calculating the size of the VPC? Yes.
Yeah, these are all IPv4. What if a company or client is using IPv6?
So IPv6, it almost be similar. Okay. So the calculation is almost similar. Let's have discussion because with IPv4 only. Okay. As of now. Sai Bindu.
Hi, Sunil. Good morning.
Good morning, Bindu.
Yeah, so the doubt which I have while calculating the size is why are we particularly taking 2 to the power? Is there any reason?
That's the calculation formula. Okay. 2 to the power of, you have to subtract the number. So Bindu, that's the formula behind calculating the size of the VPC. So let's say you have created a VPC with /20. Bindu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the calculation is 32 minus 20. The difference is 12, isn't it? So you
Yeah.
need to use 2 to the power of 12 to get the 405. 40.
Okay,
That's
so
the
that's
calculation.
the
It's the
default
formula.
thing, 2 to the power.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Clear?
clear. Thank you.
Clear, Bindu?
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Sunil.
Okay. Chaitanya Mullapudi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Sunil.
Yes, Chaitanya, I can hear you.
Yeah. Regarding this, I subnet, right, on 16.
Subnet mask.
Mask, yeah. We can use different VPCs also, same subnet.
Yeah. It's local to VPC. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions, Chaitanya?
Nothing.
How is your AWS learning going on?
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you.
Your teaching is very good, actually.
Thank you very much. Yes. So you know how to create a VPC, and you also know the calculation behind the size, to know the size of the VPC, how to determine the size of the VPC. Okay. Salman Pasha.
Good morning, Sunil. Can you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me?
I can hear you, Salman. It's very clear.
So, yeah. So when we are creating 65,536 machines, so each machine will have different sizes. Is it?
Each machine will have?
Like different size, like when the volume, I can say.
Obviously, one machine can be 4 GB
So,
memory and some hard disk, and other machine can be different configuration. Yes, you're right.
So then we have to define the size of VPC also. That doubt I have.
Size of VPC. This is 65,536 is size of VPC. 65,536 EC2 machines you can create.
Okay.
That is size of the VPC.
Yeah, overall, like I can say a data center, we can occupy some in terabytes or something like that, right? So we need not to define size of VPC.
There is no restriction with respect to hardware configuration.
Okay.
Size is, I mean, SS size, it determines the number of EC2 machines. Okay.
Yeah.
One EC2 machine can be 16 GB RAM.
Yeah.
64 GB RAM also, 128 GB RAM also. It can be 1 terabyte or 10 terabyte of storage. That's not a problem. Okay, this is number of EC2 machines. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Clear, Pasha?
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Sunil. Rohit this side.
Yes, Rohit.
Yeah. So the assignment of these IP addresses is random or
Dynamic, random. It does not take the series. We'll see practically. Anyways, we have created a VPC, right, Rohit? When you create one EC2 machine, it takes randomly. It need not be always starting with 0 or 1. Okay. It takes a random number.
Yeah.
Okay. Clear, Rohit?
Yes.
Yashodan Harne.
Hi, Sunil. Good morning. Yeah. So actually, my question is like you have defined the subnet mask, that is 16. So it is not necessary this number should be in a even range. It can be in odd range, right?
It's not necessary that the subnet mask can be.
You have given examples all for the even numbers. Like
No, it can be
26.
odd also. No problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it can be odd also. It can be 21 also. There is no compulsion. Okay.
Yeah, so it can be odd
Yeah,
numbers.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be odd numbers also, Yashodhan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a final call before jumping into the next concept. Raju Verma.
Hello.
Yes, Raju.
Sir, is it possible to give the same subnet, same IP, suppose 10.0.0/16 to other VPC?
Yeah, it is possible. Yes, it is possible. This VPC is local to this VPC is local to VPC. It's not global, Raju. Okay. So
Okay.
how does other client know that he's using that series? Okay. So it's local to VPC. Other VPC can have same number. That's not a problem.
Okay, sir.
Because they are private IP addresses.
Sir, VPC is in the region specific.
Yeah, you can see here we have created one VPC, isn't it, Raju?
Yeah, yeah. I see.
Did we create one VPC?
Yeah, yeah.
What is the name of the VPC? My VPC.
My VPC.
Where did we create it? You can see here.
Yeah, yeah,
In
region.
Mumbai region. Huh?
Mumbai. Yeah.
Okay, Raju.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
That's it. So let's move on. We are done understanding VPC. VPC is nothing special. Creating one partition in a region is called as VPC. And then we also know the determining size of the VPC. Let's try to understand next term called subnet.
Before moving there, one question. If we want to create other VPC, suppose in Delhi or any other,
No. They're not Delhi. There's no region Delhi. You can create it in Singapore. Yeah, you can create it.
So if you want to copy the same, so again we need to create it. If you want to copy the same to others, can we do that? Ease of working.
You just want to create a empty VPC, or you also want to copy the missions?
Yeah, create and copy the same, because if you for disaster recovery, suppose we are
Okay.
giving it.
There are other services for VPC copying. So those are called migration services. Okay. All the 100 missions you want to have replica. Okay. So there are application services. Shivaji, using that you can automate it. Okay.
Can you show that one example?
We'll see it. That's a different service, not related to VPC. Okay.
Oh.
So done with creating the VPC. Now let's try to understand subnet. This 16 is called subnet mask. Subnet mask is different. Subnet is different. Now I'm explaining about the concept of subnet. Okay. So Rohini, let's start from the scratch again.
Yes, sir.
So client wants to have their infrastructure in AWS. So we have created one VPC. The name of the VPC is my VPC. The IP address for it, the subnet mask value, what we have used is
10.0.0.16.
Yes. So according to that, we know the size of the VPC 65,000 missions or whatever it is. Okay. Next. When client wants to create instances, okay, when client wants to create EC2 missions, Rohini, okay, it can be 100 missions or 1,000 missions. Few missions will be web servers. Agree?
Okay.
Few missions will be web servers. Few missions will be application servers. Few missions will be database servers. Agree or not? Okay.
Yes.
There are different types of servers, in fact. Okay. So let's say, assume that client wants to create 100 web servers and 100 database servers. This is a client requirement. So total 200 missions we want to create inside the VPC. Okay.
Okay.
Don't dump the EC2 missions, all the 200 missions inside the VPC. That's not the right approach. That's not the right approach.
Okay.
As 100 missions are web servers.
Okay.
create one partition inside the VPC.
Okay.
And keep all the 100 web servers in one partition because they're all web servers. Okay. And create one more partition for database servers. So creating a partitions. Okay. Creating partitions inside the VPCs are called as what? Subnet.
Okay.
Create a partition inside the VPC is called as subnet, isn't it? Okay. Clear. So
Yes.
generally all web servers we create it in one subnet. Okay. All DB servers we create it in one subnet. All application servers we differentiate it, we group it. Okay. So these partitions which we create inside the VPC is called as what? Subnet. Okay. So let's say my requirement is to create 100 web servers and 100 DB servers. If this is the client requirement, what we'll do, we'll create one subnet for web servers. We'll create one subnet for database servers. Okay. So I want to name the subnet as WebSN. This is the name of the subnet. Okay. Where I want to create all my 100 web servers inside the subnet. That's a good practice. Okay. So when you're creating a subnet, you need to provide the IP address followed with the subnet mask.
Is there any range for the subnet, sir?
I am coming to that particular calculation. So when you're creating subnet, also you have to provide IP address followed with subnet mask. Similar to VPC. When you're creating VPC, we have provided one IP address followed with the mask, isn't it? Similarly, when you're creating subnet, also you have to provide IP address followed with the mask. Let's look at the calculation. What is the subnet mask value I'm using? 24. Am I right, Rohini? What is the subnet mask value I'm using here?
24.
24. So maximum number is 32. Okay. 32 minus 24. So the difference is 8. Okay. Isn't it? So 2 to the power of 8. 2 to the power of 8 is 256. Okay. So this means the size of the subnet is 256. That means you can create how many EC2 machines inside this subnet, inside this partition? 256 machines.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes,
so like this, you can also, you have to determine the size, like how you have determined the size of the VPC. Similarly, we'll also determine the size of the subnet.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's not mandatory to start with the 24, right? It can be varied.
No, it can. Let's say you want. Let's say if you have mentioned as 23, okay, instead of 24. Let's go with the calculation. 32. You have used 23. The difference is 9, isn't it?
Yes, sir. 9 to the power.
2 to the power of 9 is 512 machines.
Got it.
If you use 23, then the size of the subnet is 512 machines you can create.
Correct.
Okay. So it's up to you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Assuming the client is 100 web servers, so 256 is more than enough. Am I right? So like this, when you are creating a partition, you have to determine the size of the partition, size of the subnet, similar to VPC only. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And one more important point. Look at the series. I have used 10.0 only. Agree? Why?
Yes.
Because obviously, as look at my statement, subnet is subset of VPC. Agree?
Correct, sir.
So okay. So if your VPC series is starting with 10, that means every EC2 machine IP address starts with 10. Even this EC2 machine.
Correct.
Will definitely start with 10 only. So it's meaningful that it should start with 10 only. So if you create an EC2 machine, inside the subnet, what will be the series of IP address series of that particular EC2 machine? That can be definitely starting with 10 dot 0 dot. You have hard coded the value 1. So it will definitely take the value 1 dot some number.
Yes, sir.
It can be 1 or it can be 2 or it can be 20 or it can be 25, whatever it is. But definitely take that series only. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So it's always good to create all web servers in one particular partition, create all database servers in one particular partition. Similarly, I want to create one subnet inside for the database server. So I'll take it's always good to write 10.0.2.0/24 also. Here also I use the same number 24. That means I can create 256 machines in the first subnet. Similarly, I can create 256 machines in the second subnet. Okay. So let's do that. We already done practicals of creating VPC. Okay. So let's go ahead and create subnets. how to create subnet. Rohini, look
Yes.
at this. So right now we have VPC is created, right? VPC is done. Below the VPC, immediately you have an option called subnets.
Yes, sir.
Right now there are 3 subnets. These are default subnets. As there is a default VPC, there are default subnets. Don't worry about the default options. Go ahead and create a new subnet.
Okay.
Where do you want to create your subnet? Inside inside my VPC. You
Yes.
want to create a partition inside your own VPC. Okay. And then subnet name, it can be anything. As I'm using for web servers, I write it as WebSN. Okay, you can select any availability zone. Mumbai region is having 3 partitions. You can select it any region. So I'm going with the first region. And then IP address followed the subnet mask value. Here what I use is 10.0.1.0/24. Go ahead and create. Done. So you can see one party subnet I have created inside our VPC.
Correct.
Similarly, can I create one more party subnet for the DBSN? Yes, I can do that. Create subnet where I want to create it inside my VPC. Subnet name, I'm writing it as DBSN, and you can select any availability zone. I'm going with the first availability zone, and the IP address this time I'll take 2.0 series. That's it. So what did I do, Rohini? I have first step, I have created VPC. Now inside the VPC, I have created 2 subnets. First subnet is WebSN and the second subnet is DBSN. My size of the VPC is 65,000 machines, whereas the size of the first subnet is 256 EC2 machines, and the size of second subnet is also 256 EC2 machines. Like this, you can create a number of subnets. Okay. I hope I am very clear. Don't worry about this IP address series 2.0. Why did I take 2.0? Because the moment I the moment I see an IP address, if that IP address is 1.series, then I can easily identify, okay, this EC2 machine is belonging to first subnet. If I see an IP address which is something like 10.0.2. Something like 19. So the moment I look at an IP address, Rohini, I can easily identify that this is EC2 machine belonging to second subnet. Agree? So it's always a series which makes us very comfortable. So that's the reason I have taken that series. It's not compulsory that you should go for 2.0. You can go for 10.0.5.0. So local IPs is not at all a problem. Don't worry about this series. You have to understand how to create VPC, how to determine the size of the VPC in the same way. What is subnet? Subnet is something like a partition, and then how to determine the size of the subnets. The same formula works. Clear, Rohini?
Yes, sir. And this web subnet and the database
subnet. Yeah.
Yes, we created. The IPs which are provided, it will be a private IPs, right? Not
all are private IPs. Yes.
So is that possible to provide a static public IPs to these web servers and the DB servers?
Static IP concept is there. When we'll see it soon. Anyways, that we'll see practically when we're learning about components of VPC. Okay.
Yes, sir. And I believe that for the VPC, the amount we got, like 65,000 EC2 machines, we can create it.
Create inside the VPC, yeah.
Web server and the DB server will be deducted in that. For example, it's
obviously. So 256 machines in web server, 256 machines in DB server, DB subnet. Okay. So
yes,
total 512 machines inside the subnet. So the remaining 65,000 minus 500, the remaining 64,500 machines, you can create it outside the subnet and inside the VPC. Okay. Got that's all. Finally, it's within the VPC. Okay.
Yes, sir. Is there any limitation to create the subnets inside?
No limitation. You can create a number of subnets technically.
Okay. Thanks.
Any questions related to Venkat Bonam?
Good morning, Sunil.
Good morning, Venkat.
Yeah, regarding this subnet SN, you mentioned 10.0.1.0, right?
Yes.
So I'll also below out of the in the my VPN, you're given 10.0.0. So here you said once it is that 255 missions, it is going to change 10.0.1 point something like that in the below. So you already assigned the
So it will talk that number. It will not take 1.0. 1.0 is already assigned to this particular subnet, isn't it?
okay. Yeah,
So it will take 10 dot probably 10.0 dot 3.1 or whatever it is. What 3 series, 4 series, 5 series, rest of the series belongs to VPC only, right?
It will skip that.
Yeah, skip that because this is allocated to VPC, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Something like Venkat in vehicle registration. Let's say, for example, Telangana state 9 series is allocated to one district. 10 series is allocated to one district. Agree or not? Isn't it?
Yeah.
In states, one number will be allocated to one particular district. Agree or something like that. So 1 dot series is allocated to one subnet. 2 dot series is allocated to second subnet. So remaining 3 dot series, 4 dot series, everything will be taken by VPC. Okay.
So in this case, if in a subnet, if you have a 500 missions, EC missions,
where you have 500 missions
in the WebSN.
In WebSN, you cannot have 500 because the capacity is 256 only, right?
That is maximum, right?
That's maximum.
Okay.
You cannot create 257 mission also. Okay.
No,
because that's the size, that's the maximum number of EC2 missions allowed inside the subnet. That's the size. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's delete it, whatever we have created. It's always good to delete whatever we have created. So I want to remove all these partitions inside the VPC. Delete subnets, 2 subnets, WebSN and DVSN, and delete. 2 subnets deleted. I also want to delete the VPC. What is the name of the VPC? Actions, there's an option called delete VPC. We have deleted the partition. So first point, many people think that VPC is complex. Okay, so it's simplified. Don't worry about more about networking concepts. Okay, make it concept simple. So let's have one more interaction before ending the class. Happy to go. Happy to talk.
Sonny.
Happy to talk with Happy.
Yes, Sonny, how you doing?
Doing well, Happy.
Yeah, I would like to thank you first to always giving us to always helping us to follow our path. Yeah, I was trying to my concern is about the subnet because this is where I usually get confused. I actually you break it down by mentioning the fact that the max subnet is minus 32, and then when we decided to choose, I guess yes, over there, like just the one you just highlight. If you use let's say 10.0.1.0/24.
1 minute, please. 1 minute, please.
10.0.1.0/24.
That's what I have used it, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, the one used on the web server. So I want to know how what do you use the .0? I mean, actually, where did you take the dot after dot the first 0.1.0?
Okay, now your question is related to this particular 0.
Yes.
Agree?
Yes.
Okay. Happy. Assume that I have created an EC2 mission. Assume that I have created EC2 mission in the WebSN. Okay.
Yes.
This is a EC2 mission. You can see. So what can be the IP address of that particular EC2 mission? Can you tell me? What could be the IP address of this particular EC2 mission? Can you guess?
Yes, the IP address of the EC2 machine. Since we have 256, we can have 256 hosts.
You can have maximum 256 EC2 missions inside the subnet. Okay, that's fine. Let's say you're creating the first EC2 mission. Okay. What can be the IP address of that EC2 mission? It definitely starts with 10. Agree?
Oh, yes, yes.
Because you have mentioned hard-coded here 10. Agree? Dot. It definitely starts with 0. Dot. 1 dot. What could be the number here?
That's my concern. So I want to know exactly how I can figure out which numbers comes there.
It can take any number. I have mentioned 0. It takes 0 series. It is starting with 0.
All
Okay.
right. All right.
So it
all
can be 1.0, it can be 1.1, it can be 1.5. It take any number, but definitely it
All
will
right.
take this series. It takes this series. The first 3 digits will be constant. Okay. And
All
only
right.
the last digit is variable. It may 0, it may take 1, it can be 2 at the max. If you create all the 256 machines, if you completely full up the subnet, then every EC2 machine will have 1.0, 10.0 or 1.0. It starts with 0 and ends with 255. So total 256 machines. Okay. It randomly
All right.
picks up any number. The last digit is random, but the first 3 digits are constant. Okay.
All right.
Clear? I
All
hope I
right.
have cleared your question.
Yes. Yes. That's clear now. All right. Thank you so
Happy
much.
is now. Happy is happy now.
Appreciate.
Right?
Thank you so much. Yes, you're right. Appreciate. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so stay tuned. Tomorrow, there's a concept called coming to our agenda. So you know what is VPC? What VPC is a partition which we do it inside the AWS region, and subnet is nothing but again partitions inside the VPC. We have practically seen how to create VPC and how to create subnet. This is pending: public subnet and private subnet. And then what is public, what is private, what is the difference between the public subnets and private subnets, and many more topics to be discussed. Do not miss tomorrow's session. So VPC is very, very important. Next, I think we'll be spending 4 sessions on VPC. Every session is interdependent. So please do not miss the tomorrow's session. Thank you all. Bye, everybody.